The holy Adhaan silenced and Muslims are silent. Or did we have a choice in the matter? The recent judgment by the KwaZulu-Natal High Court in favor of a Hindu man who objected to the Muslim court prayer has got the attention of the world and surprisingly not Muslims. Recently, South Africa has witnessed 3 attempts to silence the Muslim call to prayer, which is better known as the azaan. This incident occurred towards the latter part of August 2020, and many news channels and platforms have broadcasted this bizarre court attempt. The call to prayer was being stopped from Madrasa Talimuddin, which is an Islamic institute in Isipingo Beach. The madrasa houses on its property a teaching institute for Islamic religious studies with about 340 students, a mosque and accommodation for staff and students. Another building is located between the madrasa and Ilari's home. Ilari sought a court interdict to silence the call to prayer, to shut down the institution's operations in the residential neighborhood and sell its property to the state or to non-Muslim entities. The madrasa had opposed this, contending the call to prayer was not amplified and no other neighbors had complained. Judge Mngadi said that he had described it as a foreign sound which invaded his private space. He said Ilari had contended that the call to prayer gave the suburb a distinctly Muslim atmosphere. The court issued an order against the mosque to ensure its call to prayer is not audible. The call to prayer in Islam symbolizes freedom of worship and speech. The first muazzin, who's the person who calls out the prayer, in Islam was a slave from Abyssinia named Hazrat Bilal al-Habshi, who is an international symbol of a free and equal Islam. And indeed, the Holy Prophet of Islam has placed him on a platform and awarded him with this blessed task. By the South African court silencing the call to prayer, it means that Islam's message of freedom, race, human rights and dignity is also being silenced. South Africa, being a democratic country respecting each other's traditions, cultures and religions, ignored the fact that this ruling was done during the Muslim New Year, which is Muharram 1442, and whilst Muslims commemorated the martyrdom of Al-Hussein, the beloved grandson of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Al-Hussein is an international symbol for hope and justice against oppression. He is a voice for the voiceless and strength to the weak, who stood up against Yazid, the son of Muawiyah, on the 10th of Muharram 61 after Hijrah at Karbala. Many world leaders who fought against oppression took inspiration from the life of Al-Hussein, such as our very own Nelson Mandela and Mahatma Gandhi. Just as how Al-Hussein stood up to oppression, a local hero from a Hindu background who is now trending on social media and airwaves, Mr. Rivaaj Ramdas from the tactical shooting team, has headed a campaign against the unjust ruling, and with his tremendous effort, the call to prayer is aired as normal. His struggle was aired live on his Facebook account. Many might question as to why a Hindu man helped a masjid, but if you follow him on social media, Mr. Rivaaj Ramdas visits Muslim shrines, churches and temples. His character matches a new fast-growing trend called spiritual but not religious. These are people who looked beyond the borders of religion and rulings set by men of God. Some of them had bad experiences with a religion, or some were scammed by men of God, or some just got tired of being sheep, and then they have adopted the spiritual part of religion such as God and deducted the opinion of man, thus having a direct connection with the divine or a connection with a divine being or object. In saying all of this, where was the local South African Muslim community, and why weren't we protecting the azaan and the masjid? No Muslim activist, leader and not even the general public stood up. Some may argue the fact of it being Muharram, but this is the very same ruling which Al-Hussein stood up for at Karbala. This was the time for Muslims to unite and put all knowledge into practice, yet we chose not to. Or did we have a choice in the matter? What if God willed it such that He chose a non-Muslim to save his own faith, making a bold statement that He will not require Muslims to do His work because we have deviated from the path? Instead, He chose a pure being to raise the flag of Islam again. It just makes me think.
I hope you guys can hear the azaan clearly. It's really truly so beautiful. It's such a beautiful prayer. It sounds so sweet. How can somebody not want to listen to such a beautiful prayer, reminding us to think of God? Really, this is utter bullshit. This is one law we will never respect. Never, never. This is not the South Africa people died for, sacrificed for, were jailed for. One man's evil has united the whole community.